I'm injury lawyer Justin Ziegler of JZ Helps, a Florida injury law firm. Today I'm going to talk about knee injuries and knee pain from car accidents, motorcycle accidents, and all type of vehicle accidents. Stay tuned and watch the entire video because at the very end I'm going to talk about the actual values for certain types of knee injuries. JZ Helps, a Florida injury law firm. Now, this video applies if someone else's negligence or carelessness caused your injury in a car or other type of vehicle accident. If you're the only one at fault, this video does not apply. This video also applies if you were working at the time of the crash and someone else was at fault. However, if you were working at the time of the crash and no one other than you was at fault, this video does not apply. I'm going to talk about the different values for pain and suffering for knee injuries in a little bit, but the first thing I want to say is if you have a bad case, you have a bad case and you may get zero. So there's no guarantee that you get a penny even if you're in a car accident and you hurt your knee. A great way to talk about how much a knee injury case may be worth is to look at past cases. And again, there's no guarantee you get a penny for your case, but let's take a look at one of the cases that I had. It was a $75,000 settlement for a lady who was driving a car and another car made a left-hand turn coming in the opposite direction, hit her, they crashed, and you can see the damage. Now in Florida, the damage to the vehicle is a very large factor when an insurance company looks at how much they are going to pay or offer you for your knee injury case. In this case, you can see the damage is huge, so it was easier to get them to make a reasonable offer. If the damage had been zero or scratches or very, very little dents on the car, the insurance company would have offered very little. Now, you always have the right to take a case to trial. However, when you take a case to trial, you need to spend $440 to file a lawsuit and serve it to the defendant, and there's additional expenses as well. The vehicle that caused the accident was insured by Progressive. Now, my client was in a vehicle that was insured, that had uninsured motorist insurance of Allstate, and Progressive paid their limits of $50,000. Allstate paid $25,000 of uninsured motorist insurance. My client's injuries were, she had a plica, which is a fold in the knee, which she ultimately had surgery to. She also had epidural injections to her spine. Now, the big thing that drove up the value of her case, and it's the reason why Progressive paid $50,000 and Allstate paid $25,000, was because she had surgery to her knee. Although the plica surgery is not one of the most serious surgeries, for lack of a better word, they still offered significant money for her injury. My client, even though she wasn't in her own car, she had PIP insurance through State Farm. And in Florida, generally speaking, PIP will pay up to $10,000 of your medical bills. And PIP, her State Farm, paid $10,000 of her medical bills. There was another case where I represented a gentleman in. It settled for $52,000. He claimed a knee injury. Now, he did have other injuries as well. His eye injury was the most significant injury, but it's a very similar type of accident, the left-hand turn accident, which generally results in serious injuries or may result in serious injuries. My client was heading this way there. Another driver tried to beat him by making a left-hand turn. They collided. This is the damage to the vehicle, the pickup truck, from a claim where the passenger received a $25,000 settlement check from USAA after another driver crashed into the vehicle that he was a passenger in. The other driver did not have any bodily injury liability insurance. Unfortunately, in most vehicles, it is not required in Florida, so my client's only claim was against his auto insurer that settled for $25,000. Now, my client had a host of injuries prior to the crash, but nevertheless, he had significant medical bills from the crash, and we made a claim against USAA, and they paid the $25,000. Now, one of the things that helped us prove the case, as I had mentioned in the other one, was there was some damage to the pickup truck. Had there been zero damage, the claim would have been much tougher against USAA, or at least they would have offered a lot less money. In another case, a pedestrian received $8,000 from State Farm after he claimed that he was hit by a car in a parking lot. The driver of the other vehicle said he was going at an idle speed, which is the slowest that a car can travel. He said that the other driver said that if he hit my client, the contact was very minimal. My client claimed the knee injury as well as other injuries. My client had knee surgery prior to the accident, not in this crash, and we claimed that this car crash worsened his knee injury. But again, he had other injuries, mostly soft tissue, no fractures, no tears, and we settled the claim for $8,000. He took an ambulance to the hospital from the scene. Now, taking an ambulance to a hospital from a scene, all things equal, raises the full value of your entire case because it is easier, generally speaking, to prove that your injuries were caused by a crash if you take an ambulance to the hospital or seek immediate medical treatment. Now, there's no guarantee, again, that you'll get a penny, but all things equal, if you take an ambulance to the hospital like this gentleman did, the settlement is generally larger. So if he had not taken an ambulance to the hospital, I think State Farm would have offered less money. Another thing that helped him this case settle for $8,000 was my client received a lot of therapy for his injuries. Now, if you get very little treatment, you generally get a much smaller settlement, all things equal. If you receive more treatment that is related to the accident, the settlement may be larger. Now let's talk for a second about knee fractures. All things equal, it's easier to prove that a knee fracture was caused by an accident as opposed to just a soft tissue knee injury, such as I have pain in my knee, or you saying that you have soreness or aching in your knee. It is easier to prove, generally speaking, that a fracture was caused by an accident than it is to prove that a tear was caused by an accident. This is because there's a chance that your tear in your knee was existed before the accident, whereas most fractures are caused by the accident. And one of the things that you need to do is prove your knee injury was caused by the accident in order to get 100% of what you're entitled to. Insurance adjusters arrive at the value of a claim by first, one of the things they do is they assign a value to the pain and suffering component of your knee injury. Now this is just an illustration. What adjusters do is they look at past jury verdicts. They also look at past settlements as well. So it's important to have a very good understanding of what are the recent jury verdicts in Florida for knee injuries from car accidents, but just knee injuries in general. So what you're going to do is you get the total full value of a case, and then you start discounting it for any problems and issues with your case. You're also entitled to recover medical bills, out-of-pocket medical bills, and money for pain and suffering. I want to go over what past jury verdicts in Florida say that the pain and suffering values are for certain types of knee injuries. Now, by say, I mean that if you do a past jury verdict research in Florida, you're going to find that these are the averages that you'll find just for the pain and suffering component of the case, of a knee injury case. You're also, like I said, if you can prove the other side's carelessness caused your knee injury, you're entitled to get out-of-pocket medical bills, pain and suffering, and other damages as well. A broken patella without surgery, jury verdicts show that being worth between $50,000 and $100,000 for the pain and suffering component. For a torn meniscus, jury verdicts put that at around $15,000 to $30,000. Surgery to fix a meniscus is placed in between $35,000 and $80,000, or maybe a little bit more. Where they remove part of your kneecap, your patella, is between $100,000 and $200,000. And you can also argue that if you have what's called open reduction internal fixation, which is also known as ORIF, that the pain and suffering component of that is $100,000 to $200,000. Now keep in mind, those are the baselines that I use just as a starting point. They can be adjusted either downwards or upwards based on all the facts of a case. For example, if you have one of those procedures done and you have infection, major complications, you're left with a significant limp, you have RSD or something else, that can really increase the full value of the pain and suffering component of that particular knee injury. I hope you got a lot out of this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please take a look at our other videos. They're very informative. Feel free to call me if you're looking for an attorney to represent you in Florida if someone caused your accident at 888-594-3577. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My office is in Miami. I serve the entire state of Florida. Thanks so much and have a great day.